Yeah,
Let
let
me record 1 minute. Okay, you have started recording. Okay.
let me share my screen. We will start with the introduction. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yes,
Yeah, we can see you.
Yeah, so good morning and welcome to this session for the Purview training. My name is Yogesh Kulkarni and I have like 16 years of strong experience in IT industry. 8 years of experience is mostly into the big data technologies, the cloud technologies and the Hadoop, Spark, different big data technologies. I have strong experience in banking, finance, automotive industry, the mainly the manufacturing industry, and the experience here is specifically with respect to the telematics or the big data technology again within the automotive domain. Same is with the healthcare or pharma domain. And then the other rest of the experience is into the telecom, e-learning, different kinds of domains. So it's kind of wider experience that I possess in different domains. I have played different roles working as a product manager, scrum master, risk manager, understanding the compliance and risk within the organization and preparing a plan and mitigate those risks. So that's specific to that kind of different role. Uh, like excellent experience into the Azure cloud big data technologies. I have listed these technologies in the next line, which is Microsoft Purview as part of the data governance, Azure Data Factory, Azure Data Bricks, Azure Data Explorer. As part of CI/CD, I have worked on the Azure DevOps and the automation part of Azure services with respect to Azure PowerShell, ARM template, and the other experience I possess within the Azure cloud domain is specific to the Azure ML Studio, Azure SQL database, ADLS Gen 2, storage account, Azure Key Vault, the virtual machines, networking. So it's again a wide set of Azure services I use like within the all the journey. Coming to the specific to the Purview experience summary, around last 2 3 years, I'm mainly using. I worked on the Purview architecture, understanding the Purview architecture, how it will fit within the organization, how we can set it up, the data governance using Purview. So that kind of work I have done and I'm doing already. Within the concepts of Purview, the different types are like collections, how the role-based access control works within the Purview, and also the control plane level using the Azure AD authentication, how that works. Then the how we can register different data sources like ADLS Gen 2 storage account, Azure SQL DB, other on-prem databases like Oracle databases or Azure SQL on-prem database or DB2 database. So different kind of on-prem plus cloud data source registration. I have done that kind of work. Then after doing the data source registration, the different types of works are like scanning, classification, exploring the lineage. And what we do, all these things from the portal can also be done from the PowerShell APIs or the different SDKs that are provided by Microsoft. The one more good feature from the Purview is data access policies. So this feature will be specifically related to when you want to govern or control the access on the storage accounts or ADLS Gen 2 or within the SQL database table, you can control, it can be, we can say it's kind of row level access control. So one person can have like only read access on the storage account files and others can have the read and write op access. So that access can be governed through these data access policies within the Purview. Venkata and other one, like you want to go through your introduction. This is the whole introduction from my side, and then I'll continue with the today's session. So I will understand the expectations from your side, and then I will further take it accordingly.
Sure, Yogesh. This is Balaji here. I'm the delivery head here.
Okay.
I manage close to 100 people in this organization. So I have Rekha here, who is the technical manager, and then I have Madhavi as well, who is the technical manager, and I have Venkat here, who is the technical lead here. So
Okay.
maybe Venkat and his team is working little bit of supporting Purview here. But Purview as a product, we wanted to gain the knowledge here for implementation of various other projects, and we do have few projects in our implementation pipeline. That's
Okay.
the reason we wanted our teams to be getting some training around Azure Purview concepts or depth into the depth as well. So that's a very high level picture about our team. You have any specific questions? Before that, I'll probably talk about the expectations as such. But do you have any questions?
No, I think this is fine. Yeah, I'll just come to the expectations part. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to understand a couple of things here. I mean, you just mentioned that, I see like vast experience in the Azure technologies here, uh, especially for Purview. You have more experience into implementation side or into training side. What is your experience here?
So it's an industry experience, I would say, and then training to the new hires actually. So initially, I started as an individual working on the Purview while setting up within the organization. Then we almost hired like 3 more people to implement this and provide the day-to-day activity support for this Purview. So the training, guidance, and the architecture part, and then the day-to-day activities that I work on with this team. So
Okay.
initially it was a team of 1 person, which I started, and then it expanded to like 3 more people, and then we are interacting with multiple different lines of business, and then onboarding them centrally to the Purview. So I worked as like super admin kind of thing for Purview.
Okay. So how about implementation, Yogesh? Did you implement Purview for any of the customers?
Not specific to the customer, but within the organization I have implemented, and I have the knowledge of Purview architecture, how it works, and the different set of architectures supported by Microsoft. We also interact with Microsoft. We understand the different features which are in public preview, GA, and private preview, which are upcoming features. So we have that regular connects with Microsoft as well.
Very good, very good. So apart from Purview, do you have any SME knowledge in any other product?
Yeah, so Azure Data Factory, I have the excellent knowledge. So Azure Databricks, Azure Data Explorer. So within the organization, my mainly role is to approve the Azure Data Factory ETL operation architectures for different application teams. So my mainly role is to review the architectures, approve them, and then provide the required support to them on the implementing those. So I'm not specifically working on any single application. I'm just a top level architecture review kind of thing, and then the required technical support I provide to these teams.
So do you call yourself more into data architect, or because I'm also seeing other networking, Azure Key Vault and all.
Yeah, I mentioned experience within the networking is that like while going through all this journey, I learned the other things as well. I have used the Azure Key Vault extensively. The reason is the security part. Azure SQL DB, wherever it is required, I worked on the SQL DB implementation, geo replication, restoration of the databases. So those kind of things I have worked. So within the overall journey of my experience, depending on the projects or depending the interactions with the different application teams, I got more into couple of depths of these technologies.
Okay. Yeah. Out of 16 years of your total experience, you are more into Microsoft side, or you have any other?
Yes, Microsoft side, yes. I have not worked on the different other cloud technologies. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's okay. And then with respect to this training, are you open for classroom or you take online? How is it?
Online one.
Only online.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. So with respect to expectations, Yogesh, I just mentioned to you, like, I mean, I have few team members, probably some 10 members will be there, maybe little over 10 members may also be there. Idea is that now we want to get hands-on experience within, Azure Purview for all these 10 to 12 people. And then any what do you call that, mock projects, something that now is given to them or you implement them. So that is another expectation, so that they really get the kind of hands-on experience. That's exactly where I was asking you, like, if you have implemented any projects for the customers, but I understand that you implemented it within your own organization. Is that right?
Yeah, so your requirement will get fulfilled what I have developed. So I can show you. So I can like explain all the concepts, the architecture concepts, and how to set it up based on the organization needs. So I think that will get fulfilled.
Okay. So, and one more question is with respect to this service. I mean, there are two aspects that we are looking at. One is knowing how we can implement this product or service to our end customer. That is one aspect of it. Second thing is that in terms of providing any support to this service, right? As a product, what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
How you install, how you subscribe, how you roll out, right? Whatever support. What do you call? Typically, it's like what do you call, database administration kind of thing. Similar to that, this particular product related administration is something that we also need to be aware of it. So do you cover that as part of this training?
So I will explain you the roles that you need to set up, like when you are setting up a team for a different particular organization or company. So what day-to-day activities will be there and which kind of roles will be required for specific to Purview to support all these architecture and day-to-day activities.
Okay.
So you can ask those specific questions as we go along.
All right. All right. Yeah, I think that's pretty much I have. Venkat, Madhu, do you have any questions?
No, along with this, I mean, training, whatever you give, right? What is the training strategy? Like, how many days you will take in order to cover all the topics? And like, you will be giving them day-to-day hands-on experience, or how is the plan? Yeah, the lab sessions and all.
So if you have the Azure subscription, you can set it up the Purview account and do hands-on, and you can come up with the runtime issues that you face, and we can connect on that. Total duration as specified by Ganesh is around 25 hours. So I will like take it for 2 hours every day, 9 to 11 a.m. in the morning. Wednesday, Thursday, I have to go to the office. So that I will cover on the weekend, Saturday, Sunday. So it will be around like 10 to 15 days we can cover everything.
Okay, you mean including hands-on? Yeah, we have an Azure subscription. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, with regards to that, I have a question with respect to the knowledge or the expertise of the existing team for the Azure.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. Even I wanted to ask, I mean, in terms of prerequisites, do you see anything, Yogesh, here? Because a lot of our team members are relatively, a little juniors. Venkat being a senior and Madhu being a senior, Rekha being a senior here. Other team members probably they have hardly 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, this kind of experience they do have. And a few members have basic Azure administration. I mean, overall Azure knowledge. What do you call that certification? Basic certification of Azure.
Okay.
900 Azure fundamentals. Azure fundamentals kind of certification also they do have it. But my question is, I mean, in order to learn Purview, do you see any prerequisites?
So mainly like the Azure Key Vault related understanding the basics of each data source. For example, the Azure SQL DB, very basic knowledge in networking, how the private endpoints will work. So again, this architecture, like with respect to different organization, will change depending on their security aspects. So some will have like a good access to all the resources, some will restrict the access to the multiple resources. In that case, the connectivity from Purview to different data sources will change. What kind of networking will be used there? So depending on that, those things will change. How the Azure storage account setup is done. Sometimes it is done using the firewall or using the private endpoints. So connecting between Purview to different data sources will change. The configurations will change. So that kind of knowledge will be required while implementing Purview or connecting it with the different data sources. Also understanding how the on-prem data sources are there. Sometimes the on-prem data sources, the organization do not allow to connect with the cloud because of different reasons. So that will depend on different scenarios. But understanding of basics of different data sources will be helpful as a
Yeah.
prerequisite.
Okay, sure. Maybe, I mean, if you can cover these basics also for a day or two, that will be really helpful for us. As I said, right, I mean, some of our team also has, freshers. Probably they are just 2, 3 years, months or no, 3+ months kind of experience. They may not be aware of certain basic things also. It would be helpful if you can consider those things also a part of your overall agenda.
Yeah, I would recommend to get hands-on or practice of these things by creating the resources on own. If you have the subscription, just play it around. I will just cover like basics while I go through the training. And if you have any specific queries, you can, yeah, reach out to me. Because the other, this mainly it will be required for the connectivity and the other data sources, and Purview being the central data governance tool, it will interact with the multiple data sources.
Right. Yeah. One last question I have is, I mean, how soon you can start? Today, tomorrow, day after? How is it?
Yeah, from today I will explain the concepts like what is the need of Purview and data governance, and I will show you the Purview on the Azure portal as well. So you can consider it from today, and then actual detail ones we can start it from tomorrow.
Yeah. I think that's pretty much. You have any other things? Yeah, please go.
Hey, hi Yogesh, this is Yogesh.
Hi.
So Yogesh, so we are expecting like the knowledge you are sharing something like suppose if any of customer creating a Purview account, if there is any kind of scanning issue, if they are facing, so how you will fix or how you will help out, how we will fix it, like how we are you going to help us, like we need to fix this way, or like what is the root cause, those kind of things also you will cover in this training, Yogesh.
Yeah, I can assist you on the scanning specific issues, but the main reason for the scanning will be a couple of high level issues, will be the connectivity issue. So when you register the data sources, everything sometimes will be fine. But as I mentioned, if there are any networking related issues or any connectivity issues will be there, it will fail. That is one reason.
I'm
Another
just, yeah,
another reason is the limitation from the Microsoft Purview side. So sometimes the configurations that we select are not supported by Microsoft. For example, if you are using the self-hosted integration runtime and your storage account is behind the firewalls or using the private endpoints, so the scanning will fail. It will not work because it is the limitation from the Purview side, which is listed in their documentation. So there could be different reasons for different data sources.
yeah.
Sometimes the issue is from Microsoft side, it will.
Yeah, got it, Yogesh. Like we are expecting like something these kind of issues. I mean, like some kind of repetition.
Troubleshooting sort of details, if you can provide, like if there is an issue with something, like how and where they have to verify, how to verify, and how to troubleshoot it.
Sure, yeah. Troubleshooting and debugging, I will show you those things. And mainly that organization should have a Microsoft support plan actually, because
Yeah,
this is a very new tool and there are a lot of issues within the Purview. So there are limitations also, or we can say the subscription limitations provided by Microsoft Purview service. For example, within one subscription, you can only set up 3 Purview accounts. So that is kind of one limitation with respect to the number of Purview accounts in a subscription. So it depends on how you want to set up within the organization. You want to set it up like a separate service for each subscription, or make it a centralized service within the organization.
Okay.
So it depends on these kind of questions that you will get from the consulting organization.
Yeah. So as a part of training, you can train us and educate us, as well as help us like how to troubleshoot and how can we self triage these kind of issues, not only in this area. So if you have any kind of examples or like references, if you can give us so that we can learn these troubleshooting steps as well.
Sure. So I suggest you to try it out and give those kind of examples which you face as an issue. Then we can troubleshoot it and I can guide you on that. So basically, it depends on sometimes the environment, how you have set it up. So, and do not fear, mainly most of the times, more than 50% the issue will be from Microsoft side. And 50% issues you can solve it on your own. You can just read the always the issue with the it's not with means I'm not talking about specifically you. Any user who is trying to do any configuration within Azure, the error message itself is more it will give the information related to the issue, what is the cause of that issue. So if you just try to Google it out, that particular line of the error message, you will get the resolution of that as well. So that is the main first start of doing any kind of debugging.
Yes. So if you can give like these kind of basic steps, inputs as well to our team. So there are some kind of junior level folks as well, so that they can grab from you as well. We can train, but you can give some inputs as well to them, so that
Yeah, these kinds of inputs I will give, but yeah, the more hands-on will give you the exact knowledge and the troubleshooting experience.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that makes sense, Yogesh. I think what Venkat is trying to ask is basically if you can give a couple of examples, right? 2, 3, 5, 10, what number of examples.
Yes.
You will learn this. Hey, this is the issue. This is how you need to troubleshoot. This is how you need to do the debugging kind of things, right? If you can give some set of examples, I think that will create some some basis.
Sure.
Some
Yeah,
platform.
that knowledge base.
Top
Yeah,
of this, if people come across any other issues, they'll try to do themselves, and probably they can get in touch with you as well to get seek help from you.
sure.
Yeah.
So along with this training, will you provide any support like after this training is completed if we have any issues, right? So like will you support us in resolving them or how is that?
Support I won't be providing like because you will be having that as an ongoing work on day-to-day basis, so which I may not be able to cover. But if you face like any challenging issues where you need support, so I think then separately we can talk about that requirement.
Okay, sure.
All right, Yogesh, I think that's pretty good for now. And then probably we will internally discuss and we'll come back to you and Ganesh as early as possible, most likely today itself.
Sure.
Thank you so much for your time. Have a good day ahead.
Yeah, you want to go through the further details?
Yeah, I definitely want to go through those details probably, and I'll push up. I have another meeting now.
Yes.
I'll then connect. Thank you, Yogesh.
Okay.
Will continue.
So the further details, what cover them again as a part of training, right? Later.
Correct.
Yeah.
Today, yeah. The next, that's the reason I kept like a short introduction plus the small introduction of Purview and the data governance.
Okay. See, because now we don't have the whole team who has to attend this training, right? So that's the reason I just want to cross check. You'll repeat them once again whenever you start with the whole team.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah, then we can go ahead.
Yeah, so in this session, I will cover the data governance and the Purview features and the Purview introduction. So before I start with the data governance, so if anyone of one from your team just want to explain the data governance and what is the need of data governance, if anyone is having idea, otherwise I will continue on the next slide related to the data governance. If you want to explain the data governance understanding in your own terms.
And maybe mostly the data governance is required in order to make sure that we don't project the customer's data, right? I mean, the end user data, it can be a details or their contact number, their email ID, or their account details. Is it that related to governance here? Because we have a GDPR concept sort of thing, right? Which will make sure that you don't project those details to the end user, to the other users.
Yes, that is, one of the aspect of data governance, correct, yeah.
I mean, masking the existing data so that the others can't view their exact financial details or account details or anything. The specific personal email IDs, personal account numbers, and all those details.
Correct, and that will come under the regulatory part of the data governance actually. So what happens within the exact need of data governance? I will explain what happens within an organization. If you see the n number of application teams working on different data sets, and that data, even though it is available within the organization, let's say one application team or one project A requires the data from project B, but they are not sure where exactly it is stored within the organization, how they can get it the access, who is the owner of that particular data set. So these kind of also other challenges are within the organization. In couple of supply chain projects or where the in CRM projects, there is impact that particular data will not be available to the specific operations team, and because of that there will be a huge business impact. So the operations team may not be aware of the where is the data kept and who is the owner of that specific data, how to get more information, how to resolve that kind of specific issue. That is one of the part of the need of the data governance. In terms of the business forecast, even though there is a huge amount of data available within the organization, if a particular business team want to forecast their sales or the forecast their business, how they want to take it ahead for next 2 3 years, they don't have the top level visibility of the data within the organization because it's spread across different applications within the organization. The owners are different. Even though it's organization data, it's not accessible to other employees within the organization where they are supposed to get that data access as well. So these are a couple of things where we need the data governance. And as you mentioned, related to the data security part. So if you see in couple of finance and banking domains or healthcare also, there will be huge fines and damaged reputation for these organizations if they do not maintain the security compliance of the data within the organization. So it will come under the regulatory part of that organization and the regulations imposed by the governments within that specific region or the country. So that is one of the importance need of the data governance. Also, the transparency into the data lifecycle and business operations, as I mentioned in the supply chain or CRM applications, you do not have the visibility of the data lifecycle within the organizations and the access to different users or different teams where they're supposed to have the access on the data, they will not have access to it. So these kind of solving these kind of data issues, there is a need of centralized data governance. Any questions on this?
No, yeah, continue. I have a couple of things I will ask you at that.
Sure. So that's the reason the organization will start a data governance project. And always remember with respect to this, I will explain the roles below, what is the need of different roles. And there should be a business value proposition always assigned to data governance. There should be some outcome that is planned by the leadership from the data governance. So it will be like high level point for the all the freshers and mid juniors understanding these kind of, but at the management level, there should be some outcome as part of the data governance. So which should be explained by the management or the leadership while implementing the data governance project within the organization. So there is always a point that the management or leadership should understand or create a business value proposition for the data governance project within the organization. Coming to the selection architecture part of the data governance, it's specifically the selecting the right technology tools and the APIs implementation part of it. Like in this example, it's Purview, understanding the Purview technology, the how it can be set it up, how you can use the APIs, and what are the other things that you need to understand with respect to this technology. So that kind of analysis needs to be done. And then obviously the right people to implement these technologies. So that will come as part of the data governance architecture and implementation part. So the different roles that will be required in the data governance, as I mentioned, is the leadership team within that organization. So this team will specifically develop a strategy, the roadmap, and they will create a business value statement like out of this data governance project. For example, I want to reduce the fines and damage reputation. I want to control the current compliance and regulations, and I want to monitor that. So this could be one of the reason for implementing the data governance project within the organization. So this business statement is important while implementing the data governance part, but that will be done as part of the strategy team from the organization. So that will be mainly the leadership or the management part. Then there will be a functional group which will mainly implement the day-to-day activities like setting up the specific technology they planned for, and then they will interact with multiple application teams to set it up the data governance tool. They will interact with the different applications and get the data source connected or onboarded to the centralized data governance technology, so that the all the data collection will happen within the data governance technology. In this case, we can say Purview. So this functional group will also have the management and the team actually working on the technical aspects of it. So this functional group management will interact with leadership to get more understanding of the roadmap and the priorities. And the management will also support to the team for the day-to-day activities. So they will be kind of bridge between the top level leadership and the technical team. You will have also the data consumer. So once you like set it up, the all the data governance, you collected the metadata, you interconnected multiple data sources, you are doing classification, scanning, all that stuff within the Purview or data governance tool. Then you will have the interactions with the multiple data users or consumers, some who will need that data or who will be supporting you to ingest that specific data information into the centralized data governance tool. So the purpose of these data consumers will be, as I mentioned, for example, project A needs data from project B, but they are not sure where exactly it is stored, who is the owner of that. So using the data governance, they will get the information, they will interact with these teams, they will develop the innovations as required as part of their project or business. They will develop another application using that information. Sometimes it will be, as mentioned, the regulatory team will be using this information to label the sensitive data, understand the classifications of sensitive data within the governance tool. So that information they will use. The another feature that I mentioned earlier related to the data access policy. So you can control the access on various data sources, even though it is within at any location in the organization. You with using Purview, you can control the access to different users on the same data set. Apart from the existing data access policies provided by that particular data storage. So you can also, on top of that, you can create your own access policies from Purview. Any questions on this part?
No, but so how these you told, right? So these data tagging and the data privacy and data type classifications. So how actually these work? So if you can explain that concepts so that we can understand how tagging is happening, how these data is classifying. So actually, I want to understand those concepts.
Sure. So when I will be showing the demos within the Purview, I will show that information to you in upcoming sessions.
Okay.
Okay, so it is covering, right? Course is covering that as well, right?
Yes. So I'm just giving you the background or the foundations why we need to do all these things actually. So you will be understanding the top level project, what we can say, the statement why we are doing all these things.
Yeah, actually, just want to give an heads up. Like, so we are kind of a team in data governance. So Microsoft Purview is also one of the service under data governance. So we used to work for these compliance issues, Service 360 compliance issues. So where we used to see these kind of issues. So
Okay.
yeah, so we are not dealing with the data of the customers, but yeah, we used to work for these compliance issues within the purview. So we used to resolve non-compliant action items, which are in different SLAs.
Okay. Maybe if in one of the sessions you can just explain that to me so that I will get more understanding and I can help you on that.
Okay, fine, fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for your wish.
So I will move to the Purview features, and before that, as you mentioned, there are two things with respect to the Purview. There are two things. One is the governance portal, and one is the compliance, which is integrated with the 365, Office 365. So what Microsoft will be doing in coming days, they will integrate that compliance portal of the Purview with the governance portal. So presently what I will be covering is mainly related to the Purview governance portal.
Mm,
So coming to the Purview features, it provides the data catalog. So it is kind of extracting the metadata from different data sources and collating all that information centrally within the Purview. So if you see the color codings here, so this is in preview
yeah,
feature. So if you are aware, like there are three states of any features that Microsoft provides. One is the private preview, one is the public preview, and one is the GA, which is generally available features. So the blue ones are the currently available as part of fully supported features. The data sharing is in public preview, and there will be other private preview features which we can request to Microsoft for the specific what we can say subscription. So if you want to get early access to those features and understand those features, you can request that the organization can request to the Microsoft, and depending on the support plan, they can provide that private preview as well. So let's say one more feature is there which is not shown in this diagram, but which is on which Microsoft is working. They will provide you the private preview feature access so that you can explore that feature as well.
okay. Yeah.
The data estate insights will provide the different information about the how the different data sources are registered, the how the scanning happening, all that it will show within the Purview. That is the feature. Then the data policies, as I mentioned, you can govern access to the data from Purview, even though there are central the data sources providing you the access control capabilities. It will also provide you the it will like override those policies, and it will provide more granular level access on the data. And you can see on the left hand side, you can connect to different on-prem or cloud applications to Purview, and you can also connect to different reporting tools with Purview. So I will show you the Microsoft Purview provisioning part and what are the other installations required as part of the Purview. And I will explain the Purview architecture and the integration runtimes in Purview. So before showing the provisioning and the actual on the portal, I will explain you the how the Purview works in the back end. So I will explain the Purview architecture here. So When you set it up the Purview account, it will be integrated with the Azure AD. And Purview account will have the types of integration runtimes as self-hosted integration runtime and the Azure integration runtimes. So these are nothing but the computes that Purview is using to connect to the data sources, perform the scanning, classification. Those kind of actions will be done using this kind of compute. So the self-hosted integration runtime, it will connect to the on-prem data sources. It will also connect with the cloud data sources. So it's kind of hybrid integration runtime. The Azure integration runtime will mainly connect with the cloud data sources. And when you set up the Purview account, it creates its own managed storage account. So this will be managed by Microsoft. I will show that on the portal as well. So what happens is when you are doing the metadata extraction or you are trying to do classifications, the from Purview account, you provide all the connections to your on-prem or cloud data sources. These integration runtimes will then, using that credential information, they will connect to these data sources, extract the metadata or some rows for the classifications, understanding the classifications. There are standard classifications as well as the customized classification rules that you can set up. So those logic will be implemented by these compute services within the Purview. And once you create all that, once the data is processed, the metadata is extracted, that will be stored within the managed storage account of Microsoft. So we cannot do any changes to this storage account. It is completely managed by the Purview account or Microsoft.
Okay, I mean, whenever a Purview account is created, so these managed storage account will be created automatically.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So earlier there was Event Hub as well, which was used by Purview account in the backend, but recently they removed that and you can add your own Event Hub along with Purview.
Okay.
And these integration runtimes, you have to create it separately within the account.
Oh, the self-hosted IR and Azure IR, it should be configured by us only.
Yeah, so this Azure IR is mainly PaaS service again managed by Microsoft, and the self-hosted integration runtime is a piece of software that is provided by Microsoft that you need to install on the Azure Windows VM.
Hmm.
So depending on the workload, you need to select the different combinations of the Windows VM, the configuration as you require within the organization.
Okay, one question, like, just want to understand. So whenever the Purview account is created, so all these resource providers, scanning, policy, all kind of services, it will be integrated for this account, or like only specific kind of services is only respond whenever Purview account is created.
So when you just create Purview account, you will have this managed storage account.
I
You
mean,
have to set up all the other things. So the scanning, all that will come latter part. So first you have to register the data source. For example, you want to scan the Azure SQL DB. So you have to set up a connection from Purview account to that specific Azure SQL DB. Once the data source is registered within the Purview account, then you can start with the scanning and classification part.
oh yeah, yeah. Likewise, okay, scanning data classification and privacy. So we have catalog. So all these gateway RP. So just want to know like a picture of what teams. Suppose if I create a Purview account within the portal. So backend, what teams are what service teams are responding. So what is front end and what is back end. So those
So
details also.
yeah, so here as I mentioned, like the functional group. So for example, you are the functional group working on Purview actually. So you will perform the day-to-day activities. For example, when you interact with, let's say, project A team is approaching you to saying that they want to integrate their data sources, Azure SQL DB, Azure storage account within Purview. So what you will do is you will provide them the access. They will do that. So it's kind of sometimes admin role technical debugging, or you have to do it on your own also. Let's say the project team is not so good in implementing the things within the Azure cloud or within the Purview. So you will be doing those activities in Purview, creating connection to the data sources, performing the scannings, classifications.
Okay, connections we need to give. So this scanning, data type, these are automated or like we need to manually we need to perform.
Data types means?
I mean, so whenever Purview account is created, first it will go after we are giving connections as well. First it will be scanned, then only it will go for classification, right?
Yes. So you have
So
to
this,
use the classification rules. So there are existing classification rules you can use, which are defined by Microsoft already within the Purview account, for specific data storage, for different for Azure SQL DB, Azure Storage account.
so
So
these all we need to do manually by ourselves. So there is no like such kind of automatically it will scan, automatically it is classify. I mean, I just want to understand, like it is not automated. We need to set up all these things, right?
correct. You need to set up it from the portal, or you can use the APIs provided by Microsoft. So whatever things you will be doing on the governance portal, you can do same through the APIs.
PowerShell APIs or like what?
PowerShell API is there, Atlas API is there, so REST APIs are also there. So multiple SDKs are provided from Microsoft.
Okay, fine, fine. Yeah, continue, Yogesh.
Yeah, so I'll show that on the portal. So those will be, those will be like one-time activities. And then what you can do is you can schedule your scans also. Let's say today you
Hmm.
have 3 files in storage account, and then you keep adding multiple files on day-to-day basis. So, and you want to get the metadata of those files. So you can set up a incremental scan. So there are two types, full scan and incremental scan. So those you can select and schedule that specific scan. So, but the initial part you have to set it up.
Okay, so you will show us these things, Yogesh, in the training.
Yes, yes.
Okay, super. Okay, good.
So I think this I'll move to the portal.
Hmm.
Can you see the browser as well?
No, we are in PPT.
Okay, let me just see the sharing options.
Yeah, now we are in.
Okay. So this is the one I have already created. So it will take few minutes when you set up the Purview account. You want to go through that setting up the Purview account, or shall I just show the scanning that I did already?
Yeah, actually, I'm aware of it. So actually, I tried yesterday.
Okay.
I mean, I just want to know. So if we create Purview account, so what all the resources that will be automatically created under this Purview account? Like, so we discussed
Y-
storage account is one.
Yeah.
So,
If you see here, manage resources.
yeah.
So Microsoft will create a manage resource group.
Yeah.
So it will append the Purview account name with the managed RG, that resource group name, and it will create this RG resource group. And this will be the storage account name it will create, where as I was showing in the architecture.
Okay. So these region we are taking manually or like it is taking automatically.
It will be created automatically. This will be managed by
Yeah.
Microsoft. So you just need to create a Purview account.
Got it. Got it.
So when you create Purview account, Microsoft is creating it in the backend.
Yeah, understand. Yeah.
So earlier there was one more resource, as I mentioned, the Event Hub. Now they have removed it and they created one more configuration. So users or the team can select their own Event Hub. So instead of using the Microsoft managed one, you can use your own Event Hub here from your organization.
Okay. Fine.
So the storage account, whatever is created, right? What it will say, let's say the scanned data or
Yes.
classification, whatever is done,
Yeah.
based on our configuration, whatever we set, right? That particular output data will be stored here, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So that is the purpose it will be using this. Again, this will not be a permanent storage. Microsoft will have its a specific storage where this will be pushed to Purview account storage actually. So this is just for staging purpose. So that Microsoft Purview account will be using it in the backend for all its processing when it interacts with the data storages.
So then it will be retained, or like it will be after some time it will be deleted.
That's like completely managed by Microsoft policy actually, how they defined it in the backend. So we do not have control on this. You can't modify anything within this.
But we can fetch the data from that, right?
Not from here, using the APIs or whatever the things provided by Microsoft or from the portal.
Okay, we have to use those APIs in order to fetch the data.
Yeah, for everything, all the activities, you have to use the Purview portal or the APIs.
Okay.
So this is the one I created the Purview demo account. So there are different roles within the Purview data plane. So when we say data plane, the access within the Purview, how you control the access within the Purview is defined by the Purview rules. So whenever a person are using the service principal, we set up the Purview account, it automatically creates a root collection. So collection is nothing but you can say the directory structure where you can organize your all the data source registrations and the scannings and classifications. So if you see my Purview account name is Purview demo account and it created with the same name, the collection. So this view that you see is a collection where I can do a data source registration and then provide the different rules also. So within that, again, I created one more a root one kind of collection, the different directory where I have registered like one storage account. So for storage, like when you want to register a data source, uh, the question related what activities we need to perform is you need to register a data source. So when you click on register option from here also, you have the option from the collection also the same icon. You can see the register option specific to that collection. So what you can do is you just click on this register and the type of database or service that you want to connect to, these types of connections are presently supported by Microsoft. So you can filter with respect to Azure database, file systems, services, and apps. So these are the different types of data sources are supported by Microsoft.
Yeah, one question, Yogesh. So how, where we are seeing this data catalog? I mean, in Azure portal, I'm not able to see this window. So when you are opening your Purview account, we are seeing like what are the resources we have, but where we used to navigate, where we have to navigate to see this window?
So when you see this Purview account, when you navigate to the Purview account, you can see the Microsoft Purview governance portal.
Is different portal. Oh, Azure portal is different. Oh, within the Azure portal, we have Purview portal again.
Correct. So when you click on this, it will land on that view.
Okay, got it.
So it's web.purview.azure.com.
Got it.
So there is another URL I will show that in next class. So you don't need to even log into the Azure portal. You can use the Purview portal and it will automatically fetch the login information and access that you have to the Purview account. So here you can see search the catalog, browse your assets, manage glossary, knowledge centers. So within again that you have the data map. So within the data map, you will create these kind of collections. By default, when you create the account, as I mentioned, it will have this collection already created. And the owner who has created it will have the access on this collection. So I will show the details here. So when you click on that collection, you will see the information about the role assignments. So within the purview, there will be different roles as collection admin who will have full access on creating multiple collections, granting access to different other users. So this is very important actually. So then you will have data source admin. So who will where you just want to provide access to the users where they just want to ingest the data. They just want to create a connection to the data source. So these are the different types of roles available here. Data curator. I will share those in the Microsoft link. I will explain those as well. Data share contributor. So if any feature is not working as part of again debugging that you asked the question. So when I created this, I can see access to specific roles within this data plane. Sometimes I may not have this access if you see. And if you try to use this feature and it is not working for you, then the main reason is that you don't have access to use that.
Oh,
So this is kind of one of the troubleshooting guide for access specific issues. So by default, it should add all the access to the owner who created the Purview account, but that is not the case. So you have to go here explicitly add that role. So you will not be able to see that feature also on the portal if you don't have access. So you have to select your username, add it access to yourself, and then you can see that. Or the collection admin need to provide that access. So this is also another kind of activity that you will have to perform as part of day-to-day activities.
yeah, understand.
So these will be kind of admin work you need to do. And once you set up this data source, you can then see here that I did one scan yesterday. I did set up this connection. So I will just show you the how I created a connection. So I just provided the name for this data storage, which is the actual name, that is PV demo storage, the subscription. So when you have multiple subscriptions in your organization and you have access to those subscriptions, you will be able to see that list within here. And then you can select the subscription, the specific storage account name from that, and it will automatically set it up this. And you can see where I'm creating it. So it is for Purview demo account root 1. So it will show the hierarchy of the collection.
Like you created this blob as a custom storage, right?
Not custom storage. I just did the registration of that specific account within the Purview. I'm
Mm.
creating a connection from Purview to that specific data store.
From Purview to blob, you are giving the connection.
Correct.
Okay.
And where I'm giving it is within the root 1 collection inside the Purview.
Okay.
This is another, as I mentioned, the data access policies. So
Mm.
for this also, like, separate role will be required. So presently it's disabled. So on the left hand side, you will see data policies, but when you have to enable and implement it, you have to enable from here. And for that, specific role will be required. I will show that in upcoming classes. So once you do the registration, it is just Purview will know that this is the data source it is getting connected to.
Mm.
And the integration runtimes, as I mentioned, there will be multiple integration runtimes that compute is required. So initially using the managed identities, it just created a connection. It is not actually working that connection. So just remember that when you just register a data source, it is not the actual connection to implement any kind of operation on it. For that, you always need integration runtime, a
Okay.
compute service.
Yeah, I have one question. So, these managed VNet IR is something I am seeing most of the time is in non-compliant. So, are we covering this any kind of Azure security pack kind of concepts?
Maybe you can show me that issue and explain to me. I will able to guide you on that.
Okay, okay, fine, yeah.
So if there is any issue with respect to the status, that means it's not correctly configured, or there are network issues. So as you can see, the types that I mentioned related to the integration runtime are Azure and the self-hosted integration runtime. So this we have to install on the Azure Windows VM. So there are two parts. I will explain it later how to set it up, this one. This will be mainly you. This is kind of hybrid one. You can connect to Azure cloud sources as well as on-prem. Mainly it will be used for on-prem connectivity. So Azure integration runtime does not support the on-prem connectivity.
Okay.
If you see, it will show, it is saying this on-premises one. And for this data source, I did one scan. I have 3 files. So if you see the scans, the classified assets it is showing. So asset is nothing but the data source information. So I will show that to you also.
So what is the role of insights, Yogesh? So can we see insights functionality? Oh, okay.
So I will explain these details to you as well. So this is mainly metrics about how it is working, the scanning all that information.
Okay, so earlier we discussed, right? One scanning, later data type classification, then insights, right? So you scanned 3 files, right? So where you will see that insights?
Yeah, the insights is different and the assets are different. So I will show you that on, let's.
I'll show you the scan results so that we understand first, so that we can.
Yeah. I was about to show that the scanning settings. So when you already registered a data source, so within that data source, you have to create a scan. You can give a customized name if you want. I use the default one. Then you have to use the integration runtime. So here, either you can select the customize the self-hosted IR or the Azure IR. So that is the purpose that we need the integration runtime to perform the actual compute activities. And here you will see the credentials. So how the Purview is connecting with the storage account, that type of information will be available here. In some cases, it will be using the managed identity. Some cases, it will be the actual password of the data source, which you will store within the Azure Key Vault.
Okay.
So I have selected the Microsoft managed identity one, and then again the collection, you have to select where you are going to do this scan. And once you have these settings, you can do a test connection. You will see the connection successful, and then you can continue with the scanning part. Once you scan, you can see the information about how many asset it discovered. The ingested means it has ingested this within the Purview account repository or the storage account. You can see all this scan information also. So it remember that it will take a lot of time. What happens is the Azure integration runtime or self-hosted integration runtime is used in the backend from Purview. So what happens, that will connect to your data source, that will try to capture the information. It will try to stage within that storage account, the staging storage account, and then it will continue to push that data within the Purview account. You can like customize these columns also, like as you need for the information specific to the different columns. And once you provide that here on the home page, you can see the browse assets option. So either you can navigate to the assets by collection type or by resource type from the home page. So for example, I did this Azure Blob Storage, so you can view from this blob storage the ingested data. So I have these 3 sample data files created, uploaded to the blob storage. For some reason, it is giving some access issue. I'm not sure. I'll show that. I will explain the settings, how to connect in next class, how to configure the connection.
Yeah, this I will aware of this thing.
Yeah, I will just take it later on. I'll just show you the where I have this. Yeah, so if I click on this file, so what it has extracted is the fully qualified name, the path of the file, where exactly it is, the properties of that file, what kind of access tier, block type, the content type it is having, all that information it is having, the size of the file. So lineage it is not holding. So lineage will come into picture when you have done multiple transformations on a specific data. So it will show that lineage, like step by step information for what is the source of data, then the second level, then third level, fourth level. So I will show in a different session for that. And the context which you can edit, like who is the owner of this data set. That information you can get, who is the SME, who is the owner of that data set. And it will show another information related, like which are the other data sets related to the similar this file. So on the same blob, you have other two files, like this is the TXT file, this is the CSV file, this is XLSX file. So all this information you can get as a related. When you do actual scanning with respect to the databases, you will get more information as well, the schema of the table.
Okay.
See, what will be the output of a scan? I mean,
Yeah,
it is
this is the
scanned and
output
what does it
actually.
say?
This is the output, like what you are saying, it will extract the metadata only,
Mm-hmm.
metadata about the files. So which files are available within this storage account and what are their properties and how they are related. If there is any lineage available, it will show that lineage, the properties of the data sources, the related information, how it is related. So with respect to the tables, it will show how that is related to the how that table is related to other tables.
Yeah, one dumb question actually. So let's take, I'm just comparing with Power BI. So both of them have a sources. I will give some source and I will connect with the data. Based on the visualizations, I will see the insights. So this is my data. So this is related to this table or this query. So here also Purview, we have some source and we are giving the data and we are dumping that and we are scanning that. But where is that original data insights where we will see?
Data will always reside on the source side. The data will not come into Purview. You have to remember that thing. It is just a metadata extraction. It will not exactly get the data from the source. It will just push the metadata. And when you have to do the scanning, it will apply the scanning rules and the classification rules there.
Okay.
So in the, you can schedule the scannings also. So data will always remain at the source side. It will not come within the purview. Just for sampling purpose, it will take some part of data out of thousands of rows for classification, applying the classification.
I thought like scanning means it will perform the scan and it'll say like there is some PI data here which has to be masked. Something like that will come as part of a scan output.
Yeah, it will mark that this will have that will be part of classification. Presently, there are no classifications applied on this. When I did the scanning, I did not apply any classification rule. So, for example, if there is a column which is having credit card information, so we can classify that. If there is Aadhaar card number or a PAN card number or any other information is there that you want to classify, you can use that classifications. So those will get covered like in detail separately. Yeah, I am just showing the scanning part. So scanning is mostly done for metadata extraction.
Okay.
For databases, it will show more information, one more column here as a schema. It will show the schema related to the table, so you can get that information.
Okay.
Yeah, any other question, or we can conclude it for today?
Yeah, we can conclude as per this training session. Yeah, we can conclude, but we have other questions. I think we can stop the recording if we are done with this.
Sure. Or maybe you can send it, I will answer it tomorrow.
No. Can you stop recording? I think you have started recording.